We've got leaders in Congress like Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi, as well as the Republicans that want to work with them, where we have been able to step by step push these bills through. And
pushing bills through just means shoving a bunch of stuff that doesn't have to do with the bill, but has its name on it, and try to get anything through. Shoving bills through is not the way that we do government, but it's the way the Democrats try to do it. But wait, there's more.
So I think so many times people counted us out, but we want to make clear we've got the backs of the American people. And while we have clear disagreements, we don't want, if the Republicans take charge, a number of them have been talking about an abortion ban. You guys know that. You featured on the show. That's why we've got to win this midterm. We just did something about climate change for the first time in decades.
Sounds like she's about to cry. We just did something about climate change for the first time in decades. That's pretty much just a BS statement too. We've been working on it and studying it and things like that for a long time. The problem is that it keeps showing up that there's really not that much inherent of a problem coming onto us like right now. I know some of you think that, well, we fix it right now so it doesn't get worse later. Look, it's already done this many times before, and this would be akin to someone saying they could stop a tornado or a hurricane if you just throw money at it and let us put rules all over you. That while 2/3 of the planet is just polluting like crazy, we're so much unpollutioned compared to them and driving ourselves into the ground. And I guess we're just hoping it rubs off on the other countries. But if everybody did everything, it still wouldn't change much. A lot of people have done this, but of course, anybody that gets into this topic here, they're not allowed to speak on what they find out. And if they don't put forth the agenda that's being tried to present to the American people and the world, then they just get written off totally. It's past pathetic.
That's why we've got to win this as that hurricane bears down on Florida. We got to win in the midterms.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute.
That's why we've got to win this as that hurricane bears down on Florida.
Does anybody in their right mind believe that somehow if we threw the money at Democrats instead of Republicans, that they could stop a hurricane in any way, shape, or form? That makes a difference in what the outcome of this hurricane would be that's coming towards Florida right now. Hell, you always see them and they veer off and things, but they try to use that and fearmonger onto people. My brother lives down there just right near Orlando and has had quite a few of them come right through and a couple of near direct hits. When they hear things like this, they laugh their ass off. But does anybody in their right mind believe that anybody could stop a hurricane? You know, hurricanes have actually lessened in their amounts over the last few years, or over the last 60 or so, it seems, whenever you look at the statistics and where they gave hurricane ratings and so on and how bad it was. Sure, through time, we look at all the ones that were real big, that really did a lot of damage. And nowadays, because it's being shoved in your face, it almost seems like there are more of them happening. What's weird about that is just a couple hundred years ago, whenever they didn't have any type of satellite things or checking out what was coming here and so on like that, they just happened rampant. When they caught somebody off guard, it really caused a problem. Nowadays, we've got that in place to where we won't catch people off guard. But does it save anybody whenever you do something like that? Because they usually just sit right there on it, because quite often it may lessen and do things like that. It's too much of a topic to talk about in this, but does anybody think that it's possible to stop a hurricane, or that if we were to throw hundreds of billions of dollars at it, that we could make them even a little bit smaller and that somebody wouldn't just use this and turn around and try to prove that they were doing something whenever they didn't. You know what's odd is probably 30, 35 years ago, whenever I was younger, they talked about a hurricane that was coming close to New Orleans, but it veered off and it hit land other places, and it did some big damage. And somebody said, well, if that was to hit directly at New Orleans, it'd go over the levee and flood it all out. Anybody do anything between then and just a few years ago whenever it did flood it all out? Well, no, not really. And they knew kind of that if it ever got to a certain point and we had a category 4 or 5 come in and it was pushing enough water up, it's just going to go. And it did. Do you think that's a part of climate change and stuff? No, this has happened before. If you look at the long term of all the situations here, it really comes out to be almost a null thing. Earlier I showed you, hopefully I've got it in there, a picture where it shows, hey, there's this little castle watchtower place where they're coming into a harbor here. At one of the very first photos taken, or within a decade of cameras being available, and it shows where the water level's up on it. Hey, here's an odd one. Here's where the water level's at now today. It actually looks down instead of up slightly. Well, the explanation for that is that harbor leads out to the ocean, and it was high tide versus low tide. Can you tell how much it has changed? It's got to be within inches. It's almost immeasurable. Wow. Makes you wonder why all these people like Al Gore and stuff, who are all champions of this type of thing, are actually buying oceanfront property. Like, oh my God, it's coming today, or we could fix this next hurricane somehow. It's foolish what politics tries to use and sway on people. Oh, we got to get out there quick because we've got to save everybody from this hurricane. Like the Republicans wouldn't do the exact same thing if they were in power. Sad thing here is that you know they're going to fail no matter whatever happens off of it, just like the hurricane hits, and they didn't try to do anything at all. And it's all just fear-mongering and trying to push through bills and all kinds of crazy things. It's disgusting whenever they use this idea somehow, where she looks like she's about to cry just to tell you about this thing that they really got to have, because the only way to save us from hurricanes is if you vote for Democrats.
That'll win in the midterms.
What? The fuck does that have to do with anything, man?
Actually, nothing. And that's the problem with modern day politics. It's just totally see-through now, where you can go, what? No. Definitely not. Let me know what you think downstairs. I could go on and on and on, but this just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Peace.